A new look at Senator Edward Kennedy's life finds evidence of a big contradiction with today consequences. The late senator's diary details what Senator Kennedy took as a promise from Judge Samuel Alito to respect the precedent of the Roe v. Wade abortion rights ruling. The diary details conversations with Alito back when he was nominated for the Supreme Court in 2005. When asked about abortion rights, Senator Kennedy records Alito as vowing to, quote, adhere to precedent, saying, quote, I believe in a right to privacy, and calling the matter, quote, settled. Of course, fast forward 16 years. It was Justice Alito who wrote the decision erasing Roe v. Wade this summer and ending its guarantee to abortion rights, a federal guarantee. The revelation comes from this new book. You see it right there, Ted Kennedy, A Life. It includes never-before-seen excerpts from the senator's own diary. The author, John Farrell, joins us now. Jack, it's great to see you. Let's continue first on this theme because it is so important in the present-day consequences. We now live in the Dobbs America, not the Roe v. Wade America. Abortion is state by state. Senator Kennedy on the Judiciary Committee, such a player in the day. You wrote a piece about your book in the New York Times yesterday about Kennedy asking him, because Alito had written in the Reagan administration a memo where he said, I oppose Roe. Judge Alito assured Mr. Kennedy he should not put too much stock in the memo. He had been seeking a promotion and wrote that he thought what his bosses wanted to hear. I was a younger person, Judge Alito said. I've matured a lot. A, the consequences of this, but just B, what you learned going through this fascinating diary.
Well, as you know, John, Ted Kennedy had been one of the leaders in the battle to defeat Robert Bork back during the Reagan years when Bork was nominated to the Supreme Court. And the lesson that the Republican Party came away from was that we can't have our nominees going up there and doing intellectual combat with the members of the Senate because we sound too heartless and we sound like we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff that the American people don't want. So we're going to have them go up there, and in a succession of Republican nominees went up there, and they all said things like, I will respect precedent, I honor what's happened before. There's a judicial theory called stare decisis, which means that we don't go back and wreck 50-year-old judicial decisions. And so when he was in this private conversation with Ted Kennedy, Judge Alito said things like, I respect precedent, I believe I'm going to adhere to that, I have constitutional responsibilities, all things that sort of give the inclination that he would be at least a neutral person on something like Roe v. Wade. And of course he was not. He wrote the decision that overturned it.
Of course he was not. It's fascinating. So many books have been written about the senator that it is remarkable, the reporting you've done, to find so many new details, including about one of the great tragedies in Senator Kennedy's life, the accident in Chappaquiddick that killed Mary Jo Kopechne, many believe cost Ted Kennedy the presidency. You got access to the senator's diary, but you also got access to other diaries as well, including Arthur Schlesinger, who was a very close, actually essentially a member of the Kennedy family. He was so close to so many of the families, an advisor to President Kennedy. In this diary, Gene thinks that Kennedy, meaning Teddy, panicked, that he hoped he could find some way to cover it all up. That in Schlesinger's diary. What else did you learn about Chappaquiddick?
First of all, that he really was panicked, but he was also possibly suffering the effects of a concussion from the car accident. He was in this sort of dream world of magical thinking where he hoped that he would see Mary Jo Kopechne walking down the road, that she had gotten out of the car the same way that he had. But in the end, he made a very cold decision that even his mother, Rose Kennedy, faulted him for, which was to go to Edgartown, get dressed, go down to a hotel lobby in the middle of the morning, and then have breakfast with friends on the balcony, and make it seem that he had not been there. And finally, two of his aides and friends came to him and said, you can't do this, you have to go report the crime. And that was what he had told Jean Kennedy Smith, his sister. So the first time we have this tale confirmed out of the senator's own mouth.
You also have in here, and it fits with this, about his role in the family here. There are people who can mess up in life and not get caught. Ted Kennedy's father, Joseph, told him, you're not one of them.
No, the whole book is basically, it's almost a Shakespearean tragedy about the youngest son, the kid, the clown, the jester, who never expected to have to shoulder the burdens of the crown. And through an incredible series of events, the three older brothers all suffer violent deaths. And here's Teddy, unprepared, ignored for large sections of his childhood, and now he's the one who has to carry the burden, carry the mantle forward.
John Farrell. It is fascinating work about a fascinating man. Really appreciate your time today, sir.